The unintended bond. Ethan Carter stepped off the sleek silver transport onto the grand Zerian capital, Horin. The sky above shimmered with twin suns, casting a golden hue over the towering crystal structures. As a diplomat for the United Earth Alliance, Ethan had traveled to many alien worlds, but nothing had prepared him for the Zerians. Their sharp features, glowing silver eyes, and smooth, obsidian-like skin made them seem almost otherworldly. His mission was simple: negotiate a peace treaty between humans and Zerians. The tension between their species had been growing, and the last thing the galaxy needed was another war. But Ethan already felt the resistance. The Zerian Council had been cold and dismissive, treating him as an outsider unworthy of their time. Inside the council chamber, Ethan stood before a long curved table where high-ranking Zerians observed him with emotionless faces. Among them was Lyra, a high-born Zerian diplomat known for her sharp wit and icy demeanor. She had opposed the meeting from the start, believing that humans were reckless and unworthy of trust. "The Zerian people do not need alliances," Lyra stated, her voice smooth but edged with steel. "Humans bring destruction wherever they go." Ethan clenched his jaw. He had dealt with prejudice before, but something about Lyra's words struck deeper. "That's not true," he replied firmly. "We want peace. If we don't work together, our enemies will tear us apart." Lyra scoffed, stepping closer. "You think we fear war? Zerians have survived for centuries without human interference." Ethan sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "I don't understand why you hate us so much." Lyra narrowed her silver eyes. "It is not hatred, human. It is caution." The room fell into a tense silence. Frustrated, Ethan moved forward, his instinct pushing him to reach out, to prove his sincerity. He barely realized what he was doing until it was too late. His fingers brushed against Lyra's wrist. A blinding blue light erupted between them. The energy crackled through the air, causing every Zerian in the room to gasp in horror. Ethan felt a burning sensation race through his veins, and when he looked down, a glowing symbol had appeared on the back of his hand. He stared at Lyra in shock, seeing the same mark now glowing on her wrist. A deadly silence followed. Then, all at once, chaos erupted. The council members shouted in alarm, guards rushed forward, and Lyra staggered back, her face twisted in disbelief. "What have you done?" she hissed, clutching her wrist as if she could erase the mark. Ethan's mind reeled. "I don't know. I didn't mean to." Lyra's breathing became ragged, her eyes filled with fury and something else. "Fear. You don't understand what you've just done, human. Our laws are absolute. A soul touch has been sealed." Ethan frowned. "Soul touch." "The ancient bond," one of the council elders spoke gravely. "When two beings touch and the mark appears, they are forever bound as life mates. The law demands that you complete the ritual, or face death." Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. "Wait, what? That's insane. This is just a misunderstanding." Lyra's hands curled into fists. "No, it is fate. And now, because of your foolishness, we are trapped in it." The guards moved closer, weapons drawn. "By order of the Zerian Council, you will be detained until the bonding ritual is completed." Ethan's pulse raced. This couldn't be happening. He had come here to make peace, not to be forced into some alien marriage law. But the panic in Lyra's eyes told him one thing. She hated this as much as he did. As the guards closed in, Ethan whispered, "We have to get out of here." Lyra looked at him for a long moment, her expression torn between fury and desperation. Then she nodded. And just like that, their fight for freedom began. Escape from fate. Lyra paced inside the dimly lit chamber, her mind racing. The glowing mark on her wrist pulsed softly, a constant reminder of the mistake that sealed her fate with a human. She had always prided herself on control, on logic, but now her life was bound to Ethan Carter, an impulsive human diplomat she barely knew. Across the room, Ethan sat on the cold metal bench, his head in his hands. The silence between them was thick with tension. "This can't be happening," Ethan muttered under his breath. "There has to be a way out of this." Lyra shot him a sharp glare. "You think I haven't considered that? Our laws are ancient and unbreakable. There is no escape." Ethan stood abruptly, his frustration boiling over. "There has to be. I'm not going to spend my life bound to someone who hates me." Lyra's eyes flashed with anger. "As if I want this. But if we don't perform the bonding ritual, they will kill us both." The weight of her words settled over them. Death wasn't an option, but neither was accepting this forced fate. Ethan took a deep breath, forcing himself to think clearly. "There's always another way," he said softly. "We just have to find it." Lyra scoffed. "You speak like a human, always chasing hope, even when it's foolish." Ethan offered a small, bitter smile. "Hope is all we have right now." Before Lyra could respond, a low hum filled the room. The door slid open, revealing a tall Zerian guard. His expression was unreadable, but his hand rested on the hilt of his weapon. "The council has decided," the guard announced. "The bonding ritual will take place in 3 days. Until then, you will be confined here." 3 days. Time was running out. Once the guard left, Ethan turned to Lyra. "We need to leave. Now." Lyra let out a dry laugh. "And how do you propose we do that? Walk out the front door?" Ethan grinned. "Something like that." Before she could argue, he pulled a small device from his pocket. "A signal jammer. I didn't come unprepared. This will disable their security systems for a few minutes. It's risky, but it's our only shot." Lyra's eyes widened in surprise. Maybe humans weren't as reckless as she thought. "Fine," she agreed. "But if we die, I'm blaming you." Ethan chuckled. "Fair enough." Activating the jammer, Ethan watched as the lights flickered. The hum of the security systems faded. They had minutes at most. Silently, they moved through the corridor. Lyra's sharp senses guided them, while Ethan's quick thinking kept them ahead of the guards. But just as they reached the outer corridor, alarms blared. "They know we're gone," Lyra whispered urgently. "No kidding," Ethan replied, scanning the area for an exit. Suddenly, a door to their left slid open. A young Zerian, barely more than a teenager, stood there. She held a finger to her lips, motioning them inside. With no other choice, they followed. Inside, the girl locked the door behind them. "I can help," she whispered. Lyra frowned. "Who are you?" "My name is Kayla. My brother was bonded against his will too. I don't agree with the council's laws. I can get you to the outer districts. From there, you're on your own." Ethan nodded. "We'll take any help we can get." Kayla led them through hidden passageways, avoiding guards at every turn. But as they reached the edge of the city, they heard footsteps. "They're close," Lyra whispered, her heart pounding. Ethan grabbed her hand, the glowing mark between them flaring. "We'll make it." They sprinted through the dark streets, but as they reached the main gate, figures emerged from the shadows. Not guards, something worse. The attackers wore dark armor with crimson emblems on their chests. Their faces were hidden behind masks, and their weapons glowed ominously. "Who are they?" Ethan asked, fear creeping into his voice. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Not Syrian, not human, something else. The attackers advanced, and without warning, one fired a blast of energy. Ethan and Lyra barely dodged. "We can't fight them," Ethan shouted. Kayla, from behind, threw a small device at their feet. Smoke erupted, blinding their pursuers. "This way," Kayla urged, leading them into a narrow alley. As they ran, Lyra's mind raced. Who were these attackers? Why were they after them? When they finally stopped to catch their breath, Ethan looked at Lyra. "We're not just running from the council, are we?" Lyra shook her head. "No, someone else wants us captured." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then we need answers. Fast." Their escape was just the beginning. Secrets unveiled. The cold, damp walls of the cell pressed in on Ethan as he struggled against his restraints. His wrists burned from the tight metal cuffs, and his mind raced with questions. After their narrow escape from the Syrian capital, he and Lyra had been ambushed by mysterious attackers. Now, they were prisoners once more, but this time, the enemy was unknown. Across the room, Lyra sat against the wall, her silver eyes glaring at the shadows. She had faced many dangers in her life, but this felt different. There was an eerie silence in the facility, and the energy in the air felt wrong. "Are you all right?" Ethan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm fine," Lyra replied, though the tension in her voice betrayed her calm exterior. "But whoever captured us, they are not Cyrene." Ethan nodded. "Yeah, I figured that out when they shot at us with tech I've never seen before." Before they could continue, the door hissed open. A tall figure entered, clad in dark armor with a crimson emblem on the chest. The mask obscured the figure's face, but the voice was clear and sharp. "Ethan Carter. Lyra Vaynar, welcome to your new reality." "Who are you?" Ethan demanded, struggling against his restraints. The figure chuckled softly. "We are the Crimson Order, the unseen hand that shapes the galaxy. And you, dear bonded pair, are our key to ultimate power." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Power? What do you want from us?" The figure stepped closer. "Ah, the Zyrian diplomat, always sharp. Your accidental bond is not just a legal matter. It is a cosmic event, foretold by ancient seers, a human and a Zyrian, bonded through touch, destined to either bring balance or chaos." Ethan blinked. "Wait, you're saying our bond is part of some ancient prophecy?" "Yes," the figure confirmed. "The bond grants you abilities, strength, perception, and a connection that transcends physical limits. But more importantly, it grants influence. Together, you could unite galaxies or destroy them, and we intend to use you for the latter." Lyra scoffed. "You expect us to help you destroy everything we know." The figure leaned in closer. "You have no choice." With that, the figure turned and left, the door sealing behind them. Ethan let out a frustrated sigh. "Great. Now we're not just fugitives. We're pawns in some galactic war." Lyra, however, remained silent. Her mind was focused on one thing: the prophecy. She had heard whispers of it during her training, but it was dismissed as a myth. Yet now, it was real, and she was at the center of it. Suddenly, the mark on her wrist glowed faintly. Ethan noticed the same glow on his hand. "Did you feel that?" Ethan asked. Lyra nodded. "Yes. It's different." Then, as if drawn by the bond, their minds connected. Ethan could feel Lyra's emotions: fear, determination, confusion. And Lyra felt Ethan's frustration, hope, and an unspoken protectiveness towards her. "We need to get out of here," Ethan said through their connection. Lyra smirked. Agreed. Focusing on their bond, they discovered something extraordinary: the ability to manipulate energy. With a concentrated thought, the metal cuffs snapped open. They stared at each other in shock, but wasted no time. Moving silently through the facility, they avoided guards, using their newfound abilities to disable cameras and unlock doors. But as they reached the control room, they discovered something chilling. Files upon files detailed experiments conducted by the Crimson Order. They had been searching for the bonded pair for centuries, manipulating events to bring Ethan and Lyra together. Every moment, every choice, had been orchestrated. "They've been watching us," Ethan whispered, feeling the shiver run down his spine. Lyra clenched her fists. "We need to end this." Suddenly, alarms blared. They had been discovered. "Time to go," Ethan said, grabbing a data chip from the console. As they ran through the corridors, guards chased them, but their bond made them unstoppable. Energy shields blocked attacks, and telepathic communication kept them one step ahead. Finally, they'd reached a hangar filled with ships. Choosing a sleek black cruiser, they escaped into the vastness of space. Inside the ship, Ethan slumped in the pilot's seat. That was too close. Lyra sat beside him, her expression unreadable. We have the data. Now we find out the truth. Ethan nodded. And then we end this. Together. Their journey was far from over, but now they knew the stakes and the power they held. The pursuit of truth. The stars stretched endlessly around them as the stolen cruiser hurtled through the void of space. Ethan Carter sat at the controls, his eyes scanning the vast emptiness ahead. Lyra Vaynar, sitting beside him, stared intently at the data chip they had stolen from the Crimson Order. This chip holds answers, Ethan said, breaking the silence. But do we really want to know what's on it? Lyra's silver eyes flicked to him. We don't have a choice, human. If we don't understand why we were bonded, we'll never be free. Ethan nodded, inserting the chip into the ship's console. A holographic screen flickered to life, displaying encrypted files. Lyra's fingers danced over the controls, her sharp mind quickly bypassing the security protocols. As the files opened, both Ethan and Lyra leaned in, their hearts pounding. What they found was worse than they had imagined. The Crimson Order had existed for centuries, manipulating events across galaxies. Their goal was clear: absolute control. But what shocked Ethan the most was the section labeled Project Fatebound. That's us, Ethan whispered, scrolling through the files. They've been tracking humans and Xyrians for generations, searching for the perfect pair. Lyra's jaw clenched. They engineered this. Our meeting, the negotiation, even our touch, it was all planned. Ethan's stomach churned. So, we were never in control of our own lives. Not entirely, Lyra replied. But they didn't account for one thing. What's that? Ethan asked. Lyra smirked faintly. Us. Our will to fight back. As they delved deeper, they discovered the prophecy in full detail. The bond between a human and a Xyrian was said to unlock immense power. Together, they could reshape galaxies, bring peace, or unleash chaos. The Crimson Order wanted the latter. They want to use our bond to tear apart the fragile peace between species, Ethan realized. If we don't stop them, billions could die. Lyra stood up, determination in her every movement. Then we find them. We destroy them. Ethan chuckled softly. You make it sound so easy. It's not, she admitted, but nothing worth fighting for ever is. Suddenly, the ship's sensors beeped. Ethan checked the screen and froze. We've got company. 2 Crimson Order ships were closing in fast. They must have tracked the chip, Lyra said, her voice cold and calculating. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Ethan grinned. Hold on tight. The cruiser banked sharply, dodging laser blasts as Ethan pushed the ship to its limits. Lyra took control of the weapons, firing back with precision. But the enemy ships were relentless. They're too fast, Ethan shouted. We need a plan. Lyra's mind raced. There's an asteroid field ahead. If we can lose them in there, we might survive. Ethan finished. Let's do it. They dove into the asteroid field, weaving between massive rocks. The enemy ships followed, but the tight spaces made it difficult for them to maneuver. Lyra fired at a large asteroid, causing it to shatter into debris that disabled one of the pursuing ships. One down, she muttered. Ethan gritted his teeth, focusing on the last ship. Come on, just a little closer. Suddenly, Lyra felt something, a pull from the bond. Ethan, trust me. Without thinking, Ethan did. Lyra reached out with her mind, tapping into their shared energy. Together, they created a burst of electromagnetic energy that short-circuited the last enemy ship, leaving it drifting powerless. Ethan let out a breath of relief. We did it. Lyra nodded, but her expression was grim. This is only the beginning. They set course for an abandoned outpost known for housing information brokers. If anyone could help them find the Crimson Order's headquarters, it was there. Hours later, they landed on the desolate planet. The outpost was hidden beneath layers of rock, accessible only through a narrow canyon. As they entered, the dim lights and scattered machinery gave it a ghostly feel. A short, hunched figure approached them. His mechanical eye flickered as he scanned them. Well, he rasped. A human and a Zyrian. What brings you to my humble abode? Lyra stepped forward. We need information on the Crimson Order. The broker chuckled. Dangerous question, that is. But, for the right price, I might have answers. Ethan crossed his arms. We don't have much to offer. The broker's eye gleamed. You have more than you think. Fate-bound. Both Ethan and Lyra stiffened. Yes, I know who you are, the broker said. And I know where you need to go. Where? Lyra demanded. The broker grinned, revealing sharp teeth. To the forgotten ruins of Cythera. That's where the Crimson Order hides their secrets. Ethan glanced at Lyra. Looks like we have our next destination. Lyra nodded. Then let's finish this. As they left the outpost, the broker's grin faded. He activated a hidden communicator. They're on their way, he whispered. A voice on the other end replied, Good. Everything is going according to plan. Unbeknownst to Ethan and Lyra, the pursuit of truth was leading them straight into a deadly trap. The bond deepens. The endless darkness of space stretched before them as Ethan and Lyra approached the forgotten ruins of Cythera. The planet loomed large through the viewport, its surface cracked and scorched from ancient wars. Legend spoke of Cythera as a once thriving hub of knowledge, now abandoned and cursed. Ethan glanced at Lyra, who stared intently at the planet. Her sharp features were set in a mask of determination, but through their bond, Ethan could feel the storm within her, doubt, fear, and something deeper that she tried to hide. Are you sure about this? Ethan asked softly. Lyra didn't look at him. We have no choice. The answers we seek are down there. As the ship descended, Ethan felt a strange pull, as if the planet itself was calling to them. When they landed on the desolate surface, the silence was deafening. Jagged ruins stretched in every direction, remnants of a civilization lost to time. This place gives me the creeps, Ethan muttered. Lyra smirked faintly. Humans and their fear of the unknown. Hey, I'm not scared, Ethan shot back. Just cautious. They moved through the ruins, their steps echoing. Ethan's hand hovered near his blaster, while Lyra's eyes scanned every shadow. The bond between them had grown stronger since their escape from the Crimson Order, allowing them to sense each other's thoughts and emotions with startling clarity. Suddenly, Lyra froze. Do you feel that? Ethan nodded. Yeah, we're not alone. A figure emerged from the shadows, tall, cloaked, with glowing red eyes. It didn't speak, but Ethan felt its presence pressing down on him like a weight. Fate-bound, the figure whispered, its voice like a hiss in the wind. You seek answers. Lyra stepped forward, her voice steady. Who are you? The figure's eyes glowed brighter. I am the keeper of Cythera. I guard the secrets you seek, but knowledge comes with a price. Ethan narrowed his eyes. What kind of price? The keeper extended a skeletal hand. A choice. One of you must face the mirror of truth. It will reveal your deepest fears, your darkest memories. If you survive, the knowledge is yours. If not, the words hung in the air. I'll do it, Ethan said without hesitation. Lyra's eyes widened. No, I'll do it. Ethan shook his head. Lyra, you've been through enough. Let me. Ethan, she interrupted, her voice soft but firm. This is my burden. He felt her resolve through the bond and reluctantly nodded. The keeper led them to a massive chamber where a large, shimmering mirror stood. Lyra approached it, her heart pounding. As she touched the mirror's surface, She was pulled in, disappearing from sight. Ethan clenched his fists, helpless as he waited. Inside the mirror, Lyra found herself in a familiar place, the Zyrian capital. But this was no memory. It was a twisted reflection of her past. She saw her younger self standing before the Zyrian council, trembling. Lyra Vanar, the council leader's voice boomed. You have failed us. Tears streamed down young Lyra's face. No, I tried. You are weak, the council sneered. Unworthy. Lyra's heart ached as she relived the moment that shaped her, the moment she vowed never to show weakness again. Suddenly, the scene shifted. She saw Ethan, standing alone in a dark void, calling out for help. Lyra, Ethan's voice echoed. Where are you? She tried to reach him, but an invisible force held her back. Let him go, a voice whispered in her ear. He will only bring you pain. No, Lyra screamed. I won't leave him. With a surge of will, she broke free and shattered the illusion. Outside, Ethan watched as the mirror cracked and Lyra stumbled out. He caught her before she fell. Lyra, are you okay? He asked, concern evident in his voice. She nodded weakly. I saw everything I feared. But I also saw you. Ethan smiled gently. I'm glad you're back. The keeper's voice echoed through the chamber. You have passed. The knowledge is yours. A glowing orb appeared before them, filling their minds with ancient secrets. They learned of the Crimson Order's true leader, a being known only as the Shadow Sovereign, a master manipulator who thrived on chaos. But more importantly, they discovered a hidden power within their bond, a power that could destroy the Order once and for all. As they left Cythera, Ethan looked at Lyra. We've come this far. No turning back now. Lyra nodded, her eyes filled with newfound strength. Together, we end this. Their bond had deepened, not just through fate, but through choice, and that choice would define the future of the galaxy. War's brink. The cold silence of space was shattered by the sound of alarms blaring inside the stolen cruiser. Ethan gripped the controls tightly, his knuckles turning white as he navigated through an asteroid field, desperately trying to evade the pursuing Crimson Order ships. Beside him, Lyra's eyes glowed with determination as she accessed the ship's weapon systems. We can't keep running forever. Ethan shouted over the noise. Lyra nodded sharply. We need to fight back. But first, we need a plan. Suddenly, a blast rocked the ship, sending them spiraling. Ethan gritted his teeth, stabilizing their course just in time to dodge another incoming missile. We need to lose them, Lyra said, her voice cold and steady. I'll handle the weapons, you fly. On it, Ethan replied, maneuvering through the asteroid field with precision. Lyra's fingers danced over the controls, firing back at their pursuers. The ship shuddered under enemy fire, but they pressed on. After a tense chase, Ethan managed to lead the enemy ships into a cluster of dense asteroids. Hold on, he warned, weaving through the rocky maze. Lyra fired a well-placed shot at a massive asteroid, causing it to explode and send debris flying. The enemy ships were caught in the blast, giving Ethan and Lyra the chance to escape. As the danger subsided, Ethan let out a breath of relief. That was too close. Lyra smirked faintly. Close, but effective. Ethan chuckled softly. I'll take that as a compliment. But their moment of respite was short-lived. The data they had retrieved from Cythera revealed a horrifying truth. The Crimson Order was planning to ignite a full-scale war between humans and Zyrians. False attacks, staged betrayals, and manipulated leaders would plunge the galaxy into chaos, all while the Order seized control from the shadows. We need to warn the Alliance and the Zyrian Council, Ethan said firmly. Lyra's expression darkened. They won't listen. The Council already distrusts humans, and the Alliance sees Zyrians as a threat. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. There has to be a way. Lyra's eyes glinted with an idea. There is. We expose the Crimson Order's plan to the entire galaxy. But to do that, we need access to the galactic network. Ethan's brow furrowed. That's heavily guarded. Any attempt to broadcast unauthorized information would be shut down immediately. Lyra gave him a knowing look. Then we break in. Their destination was clear. The Nexus Station, the heart of the galactic network. As they approached the station, Ethan couldn't help but feel uneasy. "This feels too easy," he muttered. Lyra agreed. "It's a trap. The Crimson Order wants us here." "But we don't have a choice," Ethan replied. They docked the ship and stealthily made their way through the station's labyrinthine corridors. Every shadow felt like a threat, every sound a warning. Their bond kept them connected, allowing them to move as one. Reaching the main control room, they found it eerily empty. "This is wrong," Lyra whispered. Suddenly, the doors sealed shut behind them, and the lights flickered. A voice echoed through the room. "Welcome, Fatebound." Ethan recognized it instantly. The Shadow Sovereign. A hologram flickered to life, revealing a cloaked figure with glowing crimson eyes. "You've come far," the Sovereign said, almost amused. "But this is where your journey ends." Lyra clenched her fists. "We'll stop you." The Sovereign chuckled darkly. "You are mere pawns in a game far greater than you can comprehend." The room filled with armed guards, and Ethan and Lyra found themselves surrounded. "We need to split up," Lyra said through their bond. "I'll hold them off. You upload the data." "No way," Ethan protested. "I'm not leaving you behind." "Ethan, this is bigger than us," Lyra insisted. "Trust me." Reluctantly, Ethan agreed. As Lyra engaged the guards in a fierce battle, Ethan hacked into the main console, racing against time. But just as he was about to complete the upload, he was tackled by a guard. They wrestled, but Ethan managed to disable his opponent. However, the delay gave the Sovereign time to intervene. "Your efforts are futile," the Sovereign sneered, appearing before Ethan. Lyra, seeing Ethan in danger, fought her way through the guards. But as she reached him, the Sovereign unleashed a powerful blast, sending Ethan flying across the room. "Ethan!" Lyra screamed, rushing to his side. The Sovereign loomed over them. "Any last words?" Ethan, despite his pain, grinned weakly. "Yeah. Upload complete." The Sovereign's eyes widened in shock. The data was already broadcasting across the galaxy, exposing the Crimson Order's plans. Enraged, the Sovereign attacked, but Lyra and Ethan, fueled by their bond, fought back with unparalleled strength. The room trembled under their combined power. Realizing defeat, the Sovereign vanished into the shadows. As the alarms blared and the station fell into chaos, Ethan and Lyra escaped, knowing the final battle was yet to come. "We've started a war," Ethan said grimly. Lyra nodded. "But we'll finish it." The bond between them had never been stronger, but the price of victory would soon test their limits. Fate's choice. The galaxy was on fire. News of the Crimson Order's manipulation spread like wildfire after Ethan and Lyra's daring broadcast. Across star systems, alliances crumbled and mistrust grew. The Zerian Council accused humanity of deceit, while the United Earth Alliance blamed the Zerians for colluding with the enemy. War was imminent. Inside the stolen cruiser, Ethan Carter stared at the holographic display, watching as fleets mobilized. His jaw clenched. "We did the right thing, didn't we?" he whispered. Lyra Vanar, standing beside him, felt his doubt through their bond. "We exposed the truth. But now we need to end the war before it begins." Ethan sighed. Easier said than done. Suddenly, a transmission interrupted them. A familiar voice echoed through the ship. "Well done, Fatebound," the Shadow Sovereign sneered. His crimson eyes flickered on the screen. "You've thrown the galaxy into chaos, exactly as I wanted." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "We exposed you. Your plans are ruined." The Sovereign chuckled darkly. "Ruined? No, dear Lyra. Perfected. Now, every species is at war, and when the dust settles, the Crimson Order will rise from the ashes, supreme. Ethan slammed his fist on the console. We'll stop you. The Sovereign's smile was chilling. Come then. Face me, if you dare. The transmission ended, leaving a heavy silence behind. Lyra's voice was resolute. We have to confront him. Ethan nodded. And finish this once and for all. Their destination was set. The Shadow Citadel, a hidden fortress on the desolate moon of Virac, known for its treacherous storms and lethal terrain. As they approached the moon, turbulence rocked the ship violently. Ethan gripped the controls tightly. This place doesn't want us here. Lyra smirked. Neither does the Sovereign. Landing the ship amidst the raging storms, they prepared for battle. Ethan strapped on his blaster, while Lyra armed herself with a Zyrian energy blade that hummed with power. Through the bond, Ethan felt Lyra's determination, but also fear. You okay? He asked softly. Lyra's voice was steady. I'm ready. They entered the citadel, its dark halls whispering with ancient power. Shadows danced along the walls, and every step echoed ominously. Suddenly, the ground shook. From the darkness, Crimson Order soldiers emerged, their weapons aimed at the pair. Looks like they were expecting us, Ethan muttered. Lyra's eyes glinted. Let's not disappoint them. With seamless coordination, they fought through the soldiers. Ethan's blaster shots were precise, while Lyra's blades sliced through enemies with deadly grace. Their bond allowed them to anticipate each other's moves, making them unstoppable. But the deeper they went, the stronger the pull of the bond became. Do you feel that? Ethan whispered. Lyra nodded. He's close. At last, they reached a grand chamber, where the Shadow Sovereign awaited. His cloak billowed despite the still air, and his crimson eyes burned with malice. Welcome, Fatebound, he greeted, his voice echoing eerily. You've come to die. Ethan aimed his blaster. We've come to end you. The Sovereign raised his hands, unleashing a wave of dark energy. Ethan and Lyra barely dodged. The battle began. Energy blasts and blade strikes lit up the chamber. The Sovereign was powerful, manipulating shadows to attack from all sides. But Ethan and Lyra fought with equal ferocity, their bond fueling their strength. Suddenly, the Sovereign trapped Ethan in a shadowy grip, lifting him off the ground. Lyra's heart pounded. Ethan, the Sovereign sneered. Choose, Lyra. Surrender to me, or watch him die. Ethan gasped for air. Don't do it. Lyra's mind raced. The bond burned within her, demanding action. And then, she made her choice. Focusing all her energy, she unleashed the full power of the bond. Light erupted from her, shattering the shadows and freeing Ethan. The Sovereign screamed as the light consumed him, his form dissolving into nothingness. The chamber grew silent. Ethan dropped to his knees, breathing heavily. Is it over? Lyra knelt beside him. Yes, but their relief was short-lived. The bond, now unstable from the power they unleashed, began to tear at them. We can't hold it, Ethan whispered. A glowing figure appeared, the ancient seer from Cythera. You have a choice, the seer said. Sever the bond and forget each other forever, or embrace it and bear its burden. Ethan looked at Lyra, pain in his eyes. I can't lose you. Lyra's voice trembled. But if we stay bonded, the power will consume us. Tears welled in Ethan's eyes. Then we face it together. Lyra nodded. Together. The bond stabilized. But its power was now a part of them, a constant weight they would carry. As they left the citadel, the galaxy, though scarred, began to heal. Ethan looked at Lyra. What now? Lyra's lips curled into a faint smile. Whatever comes next, we face it together. And together, they disappeared into the stars, legends of their bond echoing through time.